Okay, let's just get right into it. The era of the Wild West in artificial intelligence, those days of immediate, unfiltered, borderless open releases, yeah, that era is officially dead. For the past 2 weeks, we've been watching this absolute high-stakes financial and geopolitical thriller unfold right in front of us. We've woken up to a reality where frontier AI models are no longer treated as just, shiny consumer software. They are now tightly controlled, state-regulated, sovereign infrastructure. This explainer is a story of national security, staggering billion-dollar commitments, and a total paradigm shift in who actually controls the future of the silicon ecosystem. And this really illustrates just how fast things are moving on the ground. In an explosive midnight escalation, the total federal freeze on frontier models partially broke. As confirmed by Commerce Department internal briefings, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick issued this statement, effectively opening up a very narrow, highly monitored gateway for Anthropic's Claude Mythos 5. But listen, do not mistake this for a return to normal. Absolutely not. This is a heavily guarded redeployment, limited to roughly 100 vetted U.S. organizations defending critical infrastructure. The government blinked, sure, but they definitely haven't walked away.
So you're probably wondering about the why behind this aggressive government intervention. It traces directly back to this official White House NSTM-4 memo. The massive national security threat driving this unprecedented regulatory siege is something called adversarial distillation. Basically, the government received hard intelligence that foreign entities, particularly based in China, were running these industrial-scale campaigns to extract the proprietary capabilities of American AI models. They were using tens of thousands of proxy accounts and jailbreaking techniques to essentially clone these incredibly powerful systems. This memo right here anchored the institutional credibility for the entire federal siege we're witnessing today.
So the crucial takeaway here is that frontier models are now officially sovereign infrastructure. Following that NSTM-4 memo, the Trump administration rolled out a framework through an executive order. Now, it's nominally labeled voluntary, but practically speaking, it mandates pre-release government reviews of a model's cybersecurity defenses and vulnerabilities. The government is literally demanding up to 30 days of pre-release access just to benchmark these models. They want to know exactly what these systems can do and who they could potentially harm before a single line of code ever reaches the public internet.
Now, you might see headlines celebrating that Anthropic's Mythos 5 is back online, but make no mistake about it, this is a calculated surrender, not a total corporate victory. While the enterprise-grade Mythos 5 is approved for a tiny elite fraction of vetted U.S. defenders, Fable 5, which is their model meant for general consumer release, remains completely suspended. It is frozen. We have to understand that the era of immediate, unfiltered public releases for frontier AI models is completely dead.
Which brings us to Project Glasswing. This is the granular, honestly suffocating reality of doing business at the frontier of AI right now. Think about it. Anthropic isn't just selling software anymore. They are essentially administering a high-security clearance program. Every single customer for Mythos 5 has to go through individual government access approvals. On top of that, it comes with a mandatory 30-day data retention policy for all traffic just to monitor for misuse. When you juxtapose that incredibly tight, state-monitored governance against the massive, overwhelming demand from global enterprises, you start to see just how radically the pipeline has constricted.
OpenAI is actively navigating this exact same compliance trap with their highly anticipated new flagship model, GPT-5.6. The harsh difference between the old era and the new reality is absolute. Gone are the days of Sam Altman just hitting a button and instantly launching a model globally to hundreds of millions of users. That's history. The new reality, explicitly requested by the White House, is a state-mandated staggered launch. And this really just illustrates the sheer exhaustion of the new deployment pipeline. Watch this. Step 1, model development. Step 2, federal pre-release review. Step 3, customer-by-customer government approval. Yes, you heard that right, customer-by-customer. Step 4, limited vetted preview. This painstaking client-by-client rollout was directly requested by the Office of the National Cyber Director and the Office of Science and Technology Policy. So right now, OpenAI is only previewing GPT-5.6, and that includes the highly powerful Sol version, to an incredibly small group of trusted partners. And their participation has literally been shared with the government. Now, I want you to put yourself in the shoes of a business leader navigating this. This administrative bottleneck creates an immense competitive vacuum. If your direct competitor gets government clearance to deploy GPT 5.6 Sol first, meaning they can automate their code base and optimize their analytics immediately, and your approval is stuck in a federal review queue for weeks or even months, you are stranded. You are left entirely in a competitive void. The speed of corporate innovation is now literally bottlenecked by the speed of federal compliance. $1 trillion.
According to corporate disclosures leaked to the New York Times and Wall Street Journal, this is Sam Altman's absolute non-negotiable red line. OpenAI has confidentially filed for a US IPO, and their advisors essentially told executives they had two choices: go public soon at a lower valuation due to current market volatility, or delay until 2027 to hit the full $1 trillion mark. Altman completely refused to devalue OpenAI's cognitive property by a single dollar. Any reduction to this number was declared a complete non-starter. Talk about absolute rigidity. Of course, the prospect of the most anticipated public listing in tech history being delayed sent immediate shockwaves through the market, causing some brutal financial fallout. Nvidia slips 1.5%, AMD tumbled, Broadcom dropped. The entire Nasdaq composite suffered its worst day in over a year. Why? Because a private company's IPO timeline directly impacts the businesses selling the incredibly expensive picks and shovels of the AI boom. And when we look at the math behind this, it is absolutely staggering. Juxtapose that rigid $1 trillion valuation red line against OpenAI's massive future computing capacity commitments. We are talking about $600 billion in commitments, $300 billion with Oracle Cloud, 10 gigawatt systems with NVIDIA. To put that in perspective, 10 gigawatts is enough power to run a small country. 6 gigawatt systems with AMD. Wall Street is looking at these mind-bending capital requirements and asking, if OpenAI doesn't tap the public markets for liquidity soon, how do they actually fund this? If the biggest buyer in AI hesitates to go public, is all this spending durable? So the crucial point here is watching how this tech IPO race plays out on a timeline. Anthropic already filed confidentially for mid-2026 at a massive $965 billion valuation. OpenAI's original target was late 2026, but to shield that trillion-dollar valuation and avoid the messy scrutiny of a volatile public market while navigating these new heavy government restrictions, Altman is willing to postpone the most anticipated public listing in tech history to 2027. They are choosing to protect their private autonomy and their valuation, even if it totally rattles the global chip market. Now, the AI giants are certainly protesting this new arrangement. OpenAI explicitly stated that they don't believe this kind of government access process should become the long-term default. Altman even noted they prefer a more sustainable approach. But look at the reality. They are ultimately complying. They are submitting their models for pre-release review. They are staggering their rollouts. This signals a total, fundamental shift in global power dynamics. And this brings us to the final, unavoidable conclusion today. The Sovereign Treaty has been signed. Whether you are looking at Anthropic's calculated surrender and heavily monitored unlock of Mythos 5, or OpenAI's willingness to delay their historic IPO to weather the storm on their own terms, the overarching truth is identical. The state has successfully asserted its authority over the Silicon frontier. The software, the brilliant cognitive architectures, sure, they still belong to the engineers, but the keys to the Silicon Kingdom, they are now firmly held by the state. So, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to consider. In a world where the deployment of the most powerful business tools ever created is now dictated by federal compliance, national security reviews, and trillion-dollar corporate standoffs, how will your business survive the competitive vacuum? Now that the keys to the Silicon Kingdom belong to the state, how fast can you adapt before you're locked out?
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. It really helps the channel grow. See you in the next video.